This is the Glamorgan coastline, around halfway between the two largest cities in Wales, Cardiff and Swansea. And it was here in the late 19th century, on the shores of Rest Bay, where a group of successful local businessmen decided to build a golf course on the outskirts of the resort town of Porthcawl. It would more than stand the test of time, and today, a little over 120 years later, Royal Porthcawl remains one of the finest links, not only in Britain, but throughout the world. Welcome everyone to the third event of the European Senior Tour season, the Speedy Services Wales Senior Open, at a venue full of charm, packed with superb holes, and positively overflowing with history. The famed golf writer Michael Williams once stated that Royal Porthcawl epitomises all that is best about the game, and few could possibly argue with that assessment. The Walker Cup and British Amateur Championships have been contested here, and winners of professional events on these links include the likes of Peter Thompson, multiple Open champion, and Sandy Lyle. Now it's the turn of the European Senior Tour to sample its delights, and the tournament sponsors feel they've backed a winner.
This is the second year that we will have held this event. Last year was fantastic at Conway. We really tried to touch the cross-spectrum of sporting activities up and down the UK and Ireland, from juniors up to seniors, as this golf event reflects. There's some fantastic players, wonderful talent, some real legends of the game, and the opportunity for crowds and spectators to walk in the footsteps of legends is here on display for all to see.
As you might imagine, given the prestige of the event itself and the quality of the course, there's a terrific field assembled, with the newly crowned ISPS Hander PGA Seniors Champion among them, Paul Wesseling.
Oh God, I was in bits. It's the fact I won it 2 years on the trot, and to win it in the style I did it. I'm slowly getting used to it. It's great coming here, and obviously everyone congratulating me, and some sort of saying, well, what was I doing shooting 20 under par? But yeah, it's a wonderful week I had last week, and I hope I can continue it this week.
But Wesseling and co must tackle a Welshman on a mission.
I've had a second, I've had a third in this championship, but it'd be nice to make it a number one. We'll have to see how the weather goes and see how the swing is.
The former world number one knows the key to passing a proper links examination.
The secret is to try and keep it on the fairway. It doesn't matter how far it is, keep it on the fairway and keep it in play. And if the wind drops a little bit, maybe we might be able to get the driver out.
The defending champion, back from an extended spell on the Champions Tour in America, is the Englishman Barry Lane.
I was over there for supposed to be 3 weeks and ended up 2 months, so it's been fun actually. I mean, I only got back yesterday, so it was I'm a bit jaded, and then come back to this weather after being 93 degrees last week in Birmingham. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. I mean, especially today. I mean, this is going to be unplayable pretty much, but it's a links course, and this is what you expect.
Last year, Lane struck one of the shots of the season, a 4-iron on the 17th.
It was great. I mean, to hit a shot under that pressure, it doesn't matter, what you're playing. We're all so competitive, and we all want to win. So to hit a shot like that in the 17th hole and the second from last hole in the tournament is a great feeling.
Des Smith prevailed on this very turf way back in 1981.
Yeah, I won a tour event here all those times. I didn't realise it was that far ago. But yeah, I've happy memories here, and the few times since I've played quite well. But these are trying conditions today, and it'll all depend on the conditions.
Smith was the halfway leader at the PGA Seniors last week, but tied 8th.
Well, I blew hot early on, and then I seemed to lose my touch at the weekend. But look, I'm happy that I showed some form. It's early in the season. I was delighted to have so many birdies, and I like links golf. So, I wouldn't say I'm bubbling with confidence, but I'm looking forward to the week.
With just 2 events in the books, Wesseling, last year's Rookie of the Year, is the early pace setter in the European Senior Tour Order of Merit. But at this very early stage of the campaign, victory for someone else here may well lead to the installation of a new number one. The course measures almost 7,100 yards, par 71, and with the wind blowing hard, especially for the second round on Saturday, many players were forced to dig very deep. So, Kim Thomas, who's in contention?
Well, Phil, on the fringe of contention is last year's runner-up at Conway, Philip Golding, whose scores reflect the weather conditions. 66, then 79 on a brutal Saturday. The Englishman lies +3 after 36 holes. This guy was born in England and is now a naturalised Scot. Andrew Olcorn, the 2011 PGA Seniors champion. Andrew matched Golding 66 on day one, then carded a 77 for a +1 total. He's tied 6th.
The economical, well-timed swing of DJ Russell is ideal for blustery conditions, and last year's French Riviera Masters champion is performing well. With rounds of 69, then 73, the Midlander, based in Scotland, stands level par going into the closing day.
One shot better than DJ is Aussie Terry Price. Last season's Pond Senior Open winner followed up a solid opening 69 with an excellent 72 on that daunting day 2. This martial arts fan is sure to come out fighting on Sunday, whatever the weather.
You know, back in 2010, South Africa's John Bland won this event at the age of 64. Dennis O'Sullivan is 1 year older, but that's not prevented this amiable man of Cork playing himself into the final group. Mark James started the week with a round of 69, but his 71 in extremely difficult conditions on Saturday was an absolute masterpiece. It was the joint lowest round of a day when scores ballooned and scorecards were wrecked.
But standing proud at the top of the board is, you guessed it, the Welsh wizard Ian Woosnam, who's relishing the prospect of winning here on home soil. On day 1, the former Masters champion grabbed the lead with a stunning 65. 6 birdies, no drop shots. On day 2, the wind and rain took its toll on Woosie's normally fluent rhythm. But he battled his way around this great old Porthcawl links, eventually recording a 3 over par 74. Still good enough for the lead though, Phil.
Yes, and this is how they stand after being really buffeted. James and O'Sullivan, who's trying to win for the 8th time on the European Senior Tour, share second, only one adrift of a player fuelled by patriotic motivation.
This tournament always seems to be a good battle, and I think I've had a second and a third. It's about time I got a win, so hopefully cross my fingers tomorrow, I play well and then I end up being the winner.
The wind isn't quite so fierce for the decisive 18, but I'm afraid Kim's the only one out there without waterproofs.
The Royal Porthcawl Golf Links on Rest Bay. I tell you what, there was no rest for the wicked winds and the rains that battered the players yesterday in round 2 of the Speedy Services Wales Senior Open. Ian Woosnam, the Welsh legend, leads by 1 from Englishman Mark James. Will St George slay the dragon in round 3? It's time to find out.
A grey Sunday in mid-June. Conditions still miserable, but earlier today, Eamon Darcy shot a 66 to spring up the standings, and Phil Golding is also off to a pleasing start. This course reconfigured. This used to be the 18th. For this tournament, it is the first, and the former French Open champion neatly saves par there, staying level for the card on the next 2 holes as well. Then he birdied the 4th to be 3 over for the event.
Andrew Olcorn bogeyed the first hole for a second day in a row. So on the second, time to bite back. Birdie time. Returning to the +1 mark, just where he started.
Last Sunday at Mottram Hall, DJ Russell was a member of the final group, but carded a 76 and was relegated from the top 10. Today, though, the initial signs are good, and so too is making a par on the first.
And so to the final 3-ball on the first tee in the final round. The Irishman, Dennis O'Sullivan, oldest man in contention, but don't count him out. He will last the pace. From England, the redoubtable Mark James, looking to apply the pressure on his fellow former Ryder Cup skipper. Looking a bit concerned about his tee shot, and here is the legend that is Woosie, the home hero, completing the final 3-ball. Phil, we're off and running.
Yes, and the first is straight downhill, 429 yards. It might be an exaggeration to describe this as a baptism of fire, but it's the 4th toughest hole on the golf course, playing almost half a stroke over its par.
On the second, which in the old days was the first hole alongside the Atlantic Ocean, the largest water hazard in the world, Mike Cunning, will be travelling across the Atlantic by air after this round, back to his home in Phoenix. Nice second shot there.
Yes, and he might argue with you, Kim, and say that the Pacific Ocean is the largest water hazard in the world. But that's being pernickety.
Woozy. What's in store from him today, I wonder? Downhill second. Have to drive short of the rough that bisects the fairway here. And it's working its way around. And there's an example of the slopes on the greens here at Royal Porthcawl. They really are tricky. And given some wind and some normally dry conditions, it'd be very hard indeed. Players don't mind a bit of dampness on the greens. Helps to judge the putts a little better.
Now Terry Price, par on the first, this for birdie at the second. And birdies today will be like gold dust. Solid start for the man who absolutely dominated, didn't he, Kim, when he went out there in Germany towards the tail end of last season. It was a wonderful performance.
Certainly was, Phil. Now to the ageless Mr. O'Sullivan in his 16th senior tour season, and here he is challenging for this Speedy Services Wales Senior Open. Nice touch there, third shot on the par 4 opener. The rain's come a bit earlier than the forecast, Phil. Hopefully it'll blow through.
Yes, the tee times were put a little earlier, weren't they, to try and defeat this. The wet stuff's coming down, slowing down the greens and bamboozling DJ Russell.
The official stimp reading, the speed of the greens is just over 10 feet. That can vary from, well, 8 to about 13, depending on the slopes on these greens. Woosnam with a real snake of a putt. Almost opening his account with a birdie.
It looked all the way in the hole, didn't it?
Yes, Dennis O'Sullivan confirming it looked all the way.
You know, Kim, it was 34 years ago when Mark James won the Welsh Golf Classic, not here, but at nearby Wenvo Castle. Doesn't like that one, though. It was always very low and a little clumsy. Uncharacteristic.
Mark. Oh, he was up early, he knew it. Downhill par 4 opening hole, drop shot. Ouch.
And let's hope that doesn't set the tone for the day. You can make bogeys easily at Royal Porthcawl, but 3-putt bogeys, not recommended.
On the second, after an excellent second shot from Mike Cunning, in it goes. Back to level par.
He won in the blistering heat of Brunei. He went down there in Spain, the Senior Tour Championship, on Sergio Garcia's course in Castellón. What about today?
Testy putt for Dennis O'Sullivan. A bit further away than I thought it was, actually, this one. No. Misread, Dennis. So he drops a shot as well. They're helping Ian Woosnam, aren't they? Provided, of course, Woozy can tap his par putt in.
Always upbeat, Dennis. And I think Woozy will be after that. It's one of those days when pars are not to be sniffed at. Unspectacular, but Woozy's lead has been doubled. The gap is 2 from playing partners James and O'Sullivan, and now Terry Price in addition. What a tight event though, with only 4 shots covering the top 8 players, and given the weather, the environment for much movement as the final round of the Speedy Services Wales Senior Open continues after the break. Meet golf's Ironman.
You start in the morning with 3.8 kilometers swim in the sea. Once you get out of the water, you get onto your bike and you do 180 kilometers biking. And once you've finished that, then you go through transition 2 and get on to a 42 kilometers marathon to finish the day.
After competing in those events, tackling a golf tournament doesn't seem quite so arduous. And twice on the European Tour, Denmark's Steen Tinning was first past the post.
I've stood on the range Wednesday afternoon before lots of tournaments and thought, okay, this week I've got a good chance of winning. But it just didn't appear. And finally, you begin to doubt yourself that it's ever going to happen. It's an unbelievable feeling to win this first tournament, and especially after so many years on tour, finally pull it off. The first thing I thought I remember was I beat the whole field, and that was really the sensational feeling I got out of winning. And obviously playing with Wussy in the final group on the final day just made it perfect.
Tinning's breakthrough victory came right here in Wales at Celtic Manor 13 years ago. But what of this extreme fitness regime?
The Ironman training really came on top of the other back rehabilitation exercises I was doing. And I thought it was going to be a once-off, but it wasn't. I got hooked onto that sport, and I've done 4 now and several half Ironman. And it has just shown me how much my body really can do. And it has also shown me mentally how tough you have to be to complete an Ironman. I've been able to sort of link that to my golf also. Mentally, I feel a lot stronger on the golf course than I did in the past. And physically, I wasn't even in this kind of shape in the late 20s. My body has got so much energy. You can wake me up at 2 in the morning. I'll always be able to do a marathon at any stage, any time. Because I know once I've done the swimming, done the biking, I have to do a marathon. It is within the body, you just got to find it.
Tinning's indisputably the fittest man on the European Senior Tour.
I don't really think that anyone on this tour or on the European Tour for that matter either will come close to the kind of shape I'm in. But who would come close? Maybe Phil Golding would last for maybe 200 meters in the pool with me. But it won't be much more than that.
After a serious car accident in Germany once threatened his career, Tinning is more than fit for purpose. And so is Phil Golding, going along swimmingly in the final round of the Speedy Services Wales Senior Open, despite failing to birdie here at the 7th. But he did birdie the tough 9th, reached the turn in 32, then picked up shots on the 10th and 11th. Suddenly, he's 2 under. Meanwhile, Tinning, tied 4th in last week's PGA Seniors Championship, is making only his 3rd appearance as a senior. He's not contending this time, but another top 10 isn't out of the question.
4 straight pars to start Miguel Angel Martin's final round. This was his tee shot on the first of the very tricky par 3s at Royal Porthcawl, the 5th hole. 212 yards in breezy conditions, a very good effort. Getting better. The birdie followed, though he did bogey the 7th. Miguel, +3, turning for home. And just look how well that ball finished. Fantastic. Now, what about the defending champion, Barry Lane? Well, he cancels out the early setback bogey on the 2nd with this on the 7th. The birdie chance is taken by the man who did defend his Scottish Seniors title, so he knows how to do it. Barry back to +2, needing a few more red figures if he's going to retain this title.
We saw that Mark James was on the back foot straight away with a bogey on the 1st, while 4 pars followed, including here at the 5th. But on the 6th, the par 5 back up the hill, a double bogey 7, and back to 1 over. It's been much steadier though from the chairman of the European Senior Tour Committee, namely DJ Russell. His agenda? Grinding out pars. And he starts with 7 of them before bogeying the short 8th.
Bogeys at the 4th and the 5th for a stern-faced Terry Price. This on the 6th, not to drop 3 in a row. It's in, the tough Aussie, +1. He pars the next 2 holes. A very eventful first 7 holes for Andrew Alcorn. 2 birdies, 3 bogeys and 2 pars. Then this, and the second of the par 3s, the 8th. A very welcome Alcorn birdie there, and it means he approaches the turn, still in with a shout, Phil.
Much like his golf course design partner and good friend Russell, it was an uneventful start to the round for overnight leader Woosnam, who's negotiated 7 holes so far and parred every one of them. The biggest cause of frustration, that golden opportunity for birdie going to waste. Never mind though, Woosnam still leads the way, but what a charge from Golding. Just 1 shot behind now, and the only other player under par. At 1 over, 4 players share third, including Alcorn,
who has a birdie putt technically from off the green on this monster par 4 9th. Second toughest hole on the golf course in the final round. That'll do nicely. You take a 4 there every day. If you're offered it, snatch your hand off.
So many wonderful courses in Wales, Kim, and so many wonderful links courses around here.
Oh yeah, the southern stretch in Wales. Of course, Royal Porthcawl, the jewel in the crown. You've got places like Tenby, the oldest course in Wales, and the links in the sky, Pennard. Try and visit there if you get the chance. Magnificent views of the Atlantic Ocean. Harlech, St David's up on the west. Conwy. Real gems.
Now the 8th hole, the shortest on the course, only 122 yards, has to be respected. I suppose Royal Porthcawl's answer to the postage stamp this. That was a second-class delivery from Woosnam.
Look at the slopes on that green. Himalayan. There we are. Trademark view in Wales. Lots of sheep. Now from the sheep to a man they call Bagpuss. It's his nickname. He'd be a bit sour after missing that one. Can't believe it.
Gets a little hot under the collar, Andrew Alcorn out on the golf course. So after that, approach with caution for a while until he cools down.
He's not out of this at +2. There's a lot of golf left in this final day. A lot of problems for these players to overcome. Mark James on the 8th. 8th hole, just 122 yards. Little bacon strip of a green. Come on. And we tried to use the slope. In the end, it was overuse.
You know, Kim, we see all of these very lengthy par 3s nowadays. And yet, all of the best ones, it seems to me, are the short ones.
Well, you've really got to work because the green is normally much smaller than the rest. Missed green here for Russell on the 9th. Beautiful control there. See that grab with the second and third bounce.
He's won 29 times on the European Tour, Ian Woosnam. 4 times on the European Senior Tour in Poland, Russia, Ireland and Germany. But he would love to win here in Wales. And so far, so good.
DJ Russell did make his par, by the way, after that excellent bunker shot on the 9th. Was he for his 3 on the shortest hole on the course.
You know, Kim, he won the John Jacobs Trophy for topping the European Senior Tour Order of Merit in 2008. And maybe this year he could do the same thing. I see he's entered for Bad Ragaz coming up next month.
Terry Price, can't believe that line. A great chance missed that was on the 9th. Fantastic shot in to get that close.
Now Mark James needs something good to lift the gloom. Well, never online, was it? One of those days for him so far. Not a happy one, but Woosy's holding firm. Still the man to catch at the Speedy Services Wales Senior Open, trying to stave off a player surfing the crest of a golfing wave. That's super solid, Phil Golding. In 1995, GB and Ireland took on the USA in the Walker Cup here at Royal Porthcawl. In the singles, Gary Wolstenholme defeated a teenage Tiger Woods.
We were all used to playing links golf, and this is a tough test of golf at the best of times. And I think Tiger turned up and was ticking boxes really, as far as trying to emulate everything that Jack Nicklaus had done. And he was just playing in a Walker Cup to tick that final box and win the Walker Cup for the United States and be the hero that he's always been. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way.
Wolstenholme, now a prominent member of the European Senior Tour, was one of the world's leading amateurs, and despite a relative lack of power off the tee, managed to tame a Tiger.
It was a David and Goliath